my friends? Todd Falcone here, and so excited to be virtually with you at this event, and always eager to share with individuals in the network marketing profession exactly how to be successful, how to win, how to make money in network marketing. And I think pretty much anyone in network marketing that's entering this profession or pursuing this profession, when they see other successful people, they hear from speakers or they meet individuals that are successful, I know they're thinking to themselves, well, how did they do it? How did they get there? How did they win? And I think that's a very valuable question to ask. I think that's probably the most common question, right? Is how did you do it? How did you get there? I know that when I began my journey almost 35 years ago, that was my question, like, how do you do this? And for me, it was more, how do you do this? Not how did you do this? So, I've been involved in this space for, like I said, about 35 years. And when I look back at my network marketing career, which really this profession has been my life for over 3 decades, and I have people coming to me saying, hey, looking back, if you were to look back at your 30 plus years of doing this, can you point out specific things that for a fact have helped you to succeed? And in fact, I was on a radio show a couple of years ago, and these guys had vetted me. I've been on a lot of podcasts, I've been on a lot of shows, I've been interviewed by a lot of people, and this one radio show seeks me out, and they wanted to talk to somebody that was involved in the network marketing profession for a long period of time. They wanted to talk to somebody who was very knowledgeable with a long track record of succeeding. And I get on the radio show with this guy, and he starts, we're getting to know each other a little bit. About 10 minutes into the interview, he asked me this very pointed question. And the pointed question was, I got to know, you've been in this profession for over 30 years. How is it that, he said, what is the one reason why in 30 plus years of doing network marketing, you've never had a financial implosion where, everything either went away or you had a terrible year? And when it was interesting, because the way he posed it, I just responded. I said, look, I said, I can't answer that question because the way that you posed it, you said one thing. But I know exactly what the answer is, and I'm happy to answer it for you. It's really 2 things. And I want to, in today's training with you, I want to kind of lay this out for you, because I believe that these 2 items are the reasons why in 30 plus years, every year's been a good year. So, and when I answered the question, I said it's 2 reasons. Number 1 is, and if you're wherever you are, write this down. I think this is an important thing. Never does a day pass without me doing some type of revenue producing activity. Okay, so, and I'm going to dig deeper into exactly that. But that's the first thing I said to this guy is, never does a day pass without me doing some type of personal revenue production. That means reaching out, inviting people, exposing people, having them take a look at my products or having them take a look at my business. Regardless of how busy whatever day was, there's always reserved time set aside for personal production. And I think that's an important thing to point out, because a lot of times networkers can get pulled in some other direction, and they're busy and they're doing stuff in their business, but they're not really propelling their business forward. And like I said, I'll get into the details of that in the second half of today's training. But I think the other thing I shared with this guy is, I said, well, the big reason, the main reason why I've had success year in and year out is because I'm a relationship builder. And I learned a long time ago when I began this journey in network marketing that, I don't remember where I heard it, but I remember hearing someone say this, like, hey, people buy from those that they like and trust. So if you want to get a lot of people buying from you, you got to be a likable and trustworthy guy. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so I sought out to be, that individual. And trust is more than just telling the truth. Obviously, telling the truth is a very important thing. But if you look at network marketing, or if you look at sales, direct sales, or traditional sales, it's pretty much driven by relationships and how people feel about you. So if people have good feelings about you, they're likely to want to do business with you if you have something that will fulfill a void in their life, a gap in their life. Maybe they have a need, a want, a pain, a dissatisfaction. There's something that's missing, and they see your opportunity or your products or service as a means of, getting rid of that pain or helping out with that problem. then you have a winning situation as long as they feel good about you, right? As long as they feel good about you, they trust you and they like you. So when I began this journey so long ago, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna be that guy that people, like, that they feel good about. And so my way of being became, I'm gonna be, an individual that people are drawn to or want to do business with versus someone that they're repelled by. And I think we have, people in our lives that we've met or that we know. Some people are, think about it. Think about your negative friends or your toxic friends or toxic family members, and you go hang out with them, and you leave the house or whatever, and you're like, okay, well, I don't need to do that again for another year, versus your buddy or another family member that you go hang out with, and you're leaving, and you don't even want to leave because you're having so much fun because of how they make you feel. And so I think a great example, in fact, I'll give you a really powerful exercise as we get into today's training that I think will be very enlightening for you in terms of how you want to be. And this requires you pulling a pen and a paper out, and take a piece of paper out and draw a line through the center of the paper. So divide the paper into 2 columns, okay? And when you do that, on the upper left-hand side of the page, I want you to write down at the top of the page, businesses and people I love, okay? And on the upper right-hand side of the page, put businesses and people I don't love or won't go back to, however you want to phrase that. I think you guys get the gist of that. So the point here is to then write down the specific names of people and businesses, companies that you go back to again and again and again. And you know who they are. These are the businesses that you're always catering to over and over again. And the people that your friend that you can't wait to hang out with, when are you guys going to go on the next trip together? Your buddy from across town you can't wait to go do something with again. And I want you to write down the specific names of these individuals and these companies, these businesses that you just can't wait to, either experience or be with, in the very near future. And then on the other column, businesses, people, companies, you're like, no, I don't need to ever see them again. No, they got my money once, but I don't, I'm never going to go back there again. I'm good. And then what I want you to do after you come up with a list in both columns is to write down what you feel are the reasons why you go back again and again and again and again, or the reasons why I'm never going back there again. I'm never going to give them my money. If I ever see that guy again, it'll be, 10 years too soon, as an example. And then what's going to happen is you're going to see these ways of being that are going to surface for you. And I'm not gonna even plant any seeds for you as far as what those are, but a light bulb will absolutely go off for you when you do that. And then you obviously, once you do that, you're gonna go, okay, well, how can I be more this left column person? Like, how can I be in my life each and every day like this type of person where people are wanting to do business with me, where they're drawn to me, or they want to hang out with me, or they can't wait to spend time with me because of, really, it comes down to ultimately how we're making other people feel. And in network marketing, this is a people business, right? This is, our products, our services are moved through an independent distributor network of human beings. We might use tools like Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and other things, but it's the human connection that makes the biggest difference. And so I just think that would be, as we get this going, you can complete this exercise later, not right in the middle of the training, but I think you're going to have a light bulb go off when you do that, and you're going to be like, I'm going to be a left column person, right? So I'll give you some other examples or things that I do and that I've done that I feel have served me really, really well when it comes to relationship building. And just so you understand, the first part of this training is really focused on the concept of building relationship capital, okay? And, when we talk about capital in business, a lot of times, capital equals money. Well, capital does equal money in business, but capital, how, how people feel about you is a version of capital, relationship capital. Because think about it, if everybody hates you and nobody likes you, nobody wants to be with you, are you going to ever do any business with anybody? Probably not. But if everybody that you've ever known or come in contact with feels great about you and they can't wait to see you or hang out with you or spend some time with you, you can see the difference on how one would be not good for business and how the other would be incredibly good for business. So that's the first part. So I want to give you, again, some examples of some things that I've done, but I want to also give you a warning, okay? And here's the warning. I've trained a lot on building relationship capital. And what happens sometimes is people, they get the message, but they miss part of the message. And they're like, oh, well, you mean I should just be out there loving on people and hugging on people and, just building relationships? When am I supposed to invite people? Well, we're supposed to be inviting people and exposing people every single day. This part of the strategy that I'm sharing with you is something that can impact your business today. It can impact your business immediately, but is also really kind of the long-term strategy, like your way of being from this point forth. Maybe I was doing it this way before, but from this point forward, this is the way I'm going to be in my life, so that I'm always drawing in this business, which comes down to this whole interview is based on longevity in network marketing. Like how is it that you've had this long, successful career in network marketing? What are the things that you can point out that have been impactful in helping you to have this longevity of success? So for those of you that are here at this training, I'm hoping that your objective here is to have longevity, to not just have a quick win and then you can't recreate it again, but to really make this profession, this incredible profession, a lifelong profession for you. So again, it comes down to relationship capital. So how do we? I've given you this exercise where you can have these concepts, these thoughts in terms of how you want to be, what you want to represent in the marketplace, and things that are attractive, that draw you in, versus things on the other column that repel you. And we want to avoid being these, and we want to be all of this. But I'll also give you some specifics, okay? So I'm not gonna number these. I'm just gonna give you some concepts, some ideas on things that when I began this journey, this is just what I did. For example, I said, in the beginning, like, okay, well, who do people buy from? People buy from those that they like and trust and they feel good about. And yes, trust is telling the truth. That's part of it. That's not all of it, but certainly telling the truth is an important thing. But also, it's like, think about how busy people are and how people are running around, and what do you think everyone's favorite subject is? What do you think everyone's favorite subject is? I know you can't answer because we're on video, but everyone's favorite subject is themselves. So if we can get people talking about themselves, everything that we ever need to know will be revealed to us, because we're actually using the two ears that God gave us, and we're listening and hearing the things that they're sharing with us, versus how many conversations have you had or been involved in where you ask somebody a question, or they ask you a question, you begin answering the question, and they cut you off mid-sentence right in the middle of your question, and you don't even get to answer your question. They were like curious, hey, how was the blah, blah, blah? And you're like, oh yeah, it was great. And then they cut you off. Well, what does that say to me? That says to me, well, obviously you don't really care. You're just, you're more concerned about yourself, and you're not even interested in the answer to the question that you just asked me. And immediately, unconsciously, that makes a person go, oh, it's like you're losing a level of relationship with that person every time that you do that, versus being the individual that actually cares and actually hears and actually listens when you're in a conversation. So I think sometimes people have, and I hear it all the time, people have bad habits where they're in a conversation with somebody and they're always cutting them off rather than listening to that person. And I've used this phrase, I don't know, probably hundreds of times on stage. It comes out of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And there's many great concepts that are taught in that book, but one in particular is be genuinely interested, not interesting. And I mean, think about as us as network marketers, how many of us have been guilty of verbally vomiting on somebody? Probably all of us at some point or another, including myself. But what happens if you just had a conversation with someone and you were asking them questions and you were showing genuine, real, authentic interest in that person? You're going to uncover needs, pains, wants, desires, dissatisfactions that then you can come back with and be really a solution provider to that individual for either their literal pain, their figurative pain, or to alleviate whatever dissatisfaction that they might have through your product or your opportunity. But it requires you listening and using the two ears that you've been given and actually hearing what they say. In sales, for example, I've heard people say, oh, if you're great in sales, you must be a great talker. And I think really people that are great in sales are incredible listeners. They hear what somebody says, they let it sink in, and they come back with a solution to what that person told them. And yeah, sure, you want to be a great communicator, but communication is both talking and listening, right? Yeah, you need to be able to present in a way that they're going to comprehend or understand something, but you listening to their needs, their wants, that to me is the greatest value in being able to be, like I said, a solution provider to individuals with the different goods and services and the opportunity that you represent with whatever network marketing company that you're involved in. So that's one thing, that whole idea, that concept of being genuinely interested, not interesting. And here's another thing. When you're here's another phrase I've used very, very frequently. You cannot make a withdrawal from an empty account. Like if you went to a bank today that you don't have an account in, and you said, hey, I'd walk up to the teller and say, I'd like to make a withdrawal, and she's like, great, well, what's your account number? And you're like, I don't have an account, and she's gonna probably look at you and go, wait, are you robbing us? No, I'm not robbing you. I just would like to make a withdrawal. Well, let me explain how this works. You have to start an account, you put money in the account, and then if you want to take money out, you can take money up to the amount that's in the account. We all know how that works. But what about the emotional bank accounts of people that you're connected to, right? So like, for example, if the only time that you reach out to somebody is when you want something, you're probably not going to get it. Like if the only time that you ever call a friend is when you want to borrow money, they're probably not going to give you money. If the only time you reach out to someone is when you want to borrow their lawnmower, they're probably going to be, no, you can't use it. But if you have a relationship where, and I look at relationships like plants. Like a plant, in order to survive, needs to be watered, fertilized, tended to. It needs to be loved on in order for that plant to flourish. And I think relationships are the same way, right? We have to, think about, for example, somebody that, we all have friends from different areas geographically in our lives, if you've lived in different places or different times in our lives, or maybe we have friends from when we were in junior high school and we've moved and life goes on, but there were good friends of ours as kids, and then moved to another state, and maybe we don't see them all the time, or we're not the best of friends anymore because life changes and people change. But if you were to go reach out to somebody that you went to school in 6th grade with, and say, hey, out of the blue, 30 years later, you're like, hey, John, Todd Falcone. He's like, who? I'm like, this is Todd Falcone. We went to 6th grade together. How's it going? I got this great business I want to talk to you about. Honestly, that verges on a little bit creepy, right? Because it's like, wait, you haven't called me, talked to me, engaged with me at all in 30 years, and now you're calling me about some business out of the blue, and I barely even remembered your name, right? So think about that for a second. So when you, and here's the opposite of that. So actually, I'll give you a real example. So I have this guy that I went to, I met him in 2nd grade in Mrs. Johnson's class. His name is Bart. And Bart and I grew up together. We fished a lot together. We hung out together. And I have not seen him since 1984. So it's been a long time. However, I've maintained contact with Bart. I mean, I literally have not seen him physically, but we've connected on Facebook. We've talked on the phone. We're still connected. There's still something in that relationship, which has taken a little bit of an effort. Like I could have not seen him since 1984, never tried to reach out to him again, never tried to find him on Facebook, never said, hey, what's your phone number? Let's reconnect, let's chat, what's up? And had I not done any of that, and I just immediately reached out to Bart and said, I've got this business, and he hadn't heard from me for 30 years, that would be a really awkward conversation. But if I reached out to Bart today and said, hey, Bart, Todd Falcone, he's like, hey, bro, what's up? Hey man, listen, I want to reach out to you. I just launched this new business, or I've been involved in this business for last couple years, and it's been going great. I have no idea whether you're in a position right now or not to, do something different or in addition to what you're doing. But I'd love for you to take a peek at what I'm doing. I think we could have some fun together in this. If I sent you a video, would you take a look at it? He's going to be way more receptive to that message because he perceives me as a guy who's made an effort over the years to maintain contact. Like even in my personal database in my phone, and I think I have 6,300 personal contacts in my phone. Every week, I'm constantly going through my phone, texting, calling people, and just to reconnect, just to water the plant, just to fertilize the plant. Many of those they certainly do turn out to business, but that's not the intention of that particular strategy for me. It's just to, keep the plants alive, to keep the relationship alive. Because one day if I do call that person or reach out to them and say, hey, look, I've got this thing that I'm doing, they're going to be more receptive because the relationship is fresher. So all of us here, you have friends like, it's interesting when like in Network Marketing 101, you're taught, hey, write down, when I started network marketing is write down a list, your memory jogger, and, write down that warm market list of everybody that you've known since birth, and then start calling those people. Well, some of these people that you're thinking of, you haven't seen or talked to in 18 years, 20 years, 30 years. Typically that message, again, is not going to be received as favorably as someone that you have made contact with or stayed in contact with. So a habit for you as a networker, if your objective is to be long-term, make this a long-term career, is be that person that is a relationship capital builder, that I'm watering and fertilizing these relationships. I don't know if I'll do business with them ever. I don't know if I'll do business with them in 2 years or now, but I'm going to make sure I'm keeping these relationships fresh. So if I wanted to go make a withdrawal, if we call that a withdrawal from, even though I'm giving them a deposit, in my opinion, if I put you in my business, that's a good thing. But if the ask is the withdrawal. So if I were to ask you to take a look at my business, that's something I'm asking for. I'm taking out of that relationship, but it's only going to happen if there is some existing relationship there. So a new habit for you, if you haven't done this, is to become that person that maintains contact. Like I've lived in like 6 different areas in my life, and I'm not going to go through the areas in this training, but in every one of those neighborhoods and states that I've lived in, I've made an effort after I moved to maintain contact with those people, texting, calling, staying connected with the ones that I want to stay connected with. And had I not done that otherwise, many of those people would not have reached out to me. And it's not like, well, wait a minute, you're not calling me, so I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to play that game. If I want to maintain contact with somebody, I'm going to be I don't care about being the initiator, right? I'll be the initiator and keep the relationship going. And that serves you well, because then, if you were to reach out and ask for something, ask them to take a look at your product or ask them to take a look at your business, again, they're going to respond far more favorably to that. So there's just little habits that I've done. And, when I was in this radio show, I was answering this question. I mean, this is like, I don't know, it was like a 90-minute radio show with this guy. And we were having this conversation about different habits on building relationship capital. That's one. This whole idea of constantly maintaining connection with people and not allowing those relationships to dry up. Other things like just being positive. Like I have issues in my life. I have challenges. I have, bad days. I have good days. I mean, everybody has those. But I don't bring any of that drama, any of that negativity to people that I associate with, because and I'm not saying don't be authentic, right? I mean, you have a friend and you have a problem and you need to share your problem with your friend, and can I bounce this off you? I'm struggling with this. I get that. That's we need to be authentic, but at the same time, we also have friends that every time you're around them, it's just like, they're just so negative. It's just drama every single time. And what do you do when you have a friend like that? You typically tend to separate yourself from that individual, right? So being that positive influence, if you can make it your mission to, with every single person that encounters you in life, to make them feel better having experienced you than prior to experiencing you, you win. Think about it. Like they're like, wow, you left an indelible impression upon this individual with each and every experience, where when you leave that experience, like, oh, I cannot wait to see that person again. That's, to me, how does that not work? How in what way does that not serve you? Versus, we can think of people in our lives where we experience them and you're like, okay, well, I don't need to experience that for another 5 years, right? I've had enough of that person. So, it's also things like, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. Like, your word is gold. Like, if you say you're going to be there at noon, you're there at noon. You're not there at 5 p.m. and I'm sitting here waiting around for 5 hours waiting for you to show up. You say you're going to be there at noon, fine, okay. You're going to be a little late. You're running 15 minutes. You call up and say, hey, listen, I know we're going to be going camping. I was a little bit late. I was trying to find my sleeping bag, and I'll be there. I'll be there at 12:15. That's responsible, right? Versus, I had a friend that I used to hang out with quite a bit, and literally he said he was going to be at my house at noon to go camping, and this is pre-cell phone days. But I still had a landline. And he shows up at my house at 5 p.m. ready to go camp, and I waited around for 5 hours. In the meantime, I unpacked, and by the time he got to my house, I said, look, I'm not going camping. You told me you're going to be here at noon. I've already made other plans. I'm done. And we're no longer friends anymore. So little things like that, like if a promise made is a debt unpaid. If you make a promise, you do it. And I think the concept of under-promising and over-delivering is another beautiful thing. What if you always did things where you did more than people expected of you? Like in whatever aspect of your life. I'm not even talking network marketing. I'm just talking about you as a human being. What if everything that you did, you always over-delivered upon the expectations of whatever that experience was? That's a recipe for winning in every single area of your life. Listening, using your ears, being a great communicator by actually hearing what somebody says, being that person that makes regular emotional deposits into the accounts of people that you may ultimately want to do business with, being that super positive person that makes people feel good and they're feeling better having experienced it with you. These are all little things that make a very big difference. And another thing, for example, we all have our mobile phones, right? And in our mobile phones, we have an individual's contact information. And we put their name, we put their phone number, their email address, their physical address. But here's something that blows my mind. Most network marketers don't keep notes on people. Like every single contact in my phone, I've got notes. I'll take mental note if I'm getting to know you right now and I'm sitting down, let's say we're having coffee and it's an initial meeting. I'm taking mental note on the important things that you're telling me. And then as soon as that meeting's done, I'm adding it to the contact record in my phone. From Chicago, went to this school, favorite band is this, has 2 kids, wife's name is Trisha. Whatever I thought was important to remember, I add it to the contact record. And it just makes you appear smarter. Like our brains are not that good where we're going to remember all of the important things. Like literally, unless you're a family member or one of my best friends, I've got notes, how we met, where we met, what we talked about, who referred you to me, what were the important things that I need to remember from our conversation. If I presented you my business, I put the date and the time, even if you said no, presented the business on January 5th, 1997, said no, wasn't good timing. And some of us have been in network marketing for so long, have I ever even talked to that person about my business? Well, I know because I've got notes on that person. And I'll give you what I think is the great separator, the great differentiator. And isn't it interesting when you're having a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden you hit their hot button, like that subject that they're so excited about, their favorite band or their favorite activity, camping, oh my gosh, camping, I love to camp, or my favorite band, oh yeah, or my favorite sports team, or whatever it is, and they can't shut up about it. Well, when you uncover someone's passion, their interest, then I actually put it in the notes as well. Favorite band, Grateful Dead, or favorite school, University of Washington, or whatever it is. And so then what that does for you is it puts you kind of in an advantageous position. Like you're out roaming around and you see a poster for Grateful Dead, some really crazy cool poster, and your friend is a Grateful Dead fan. And you're like, oh my gosh, $5.99. Okay, I buy that. I buy the poster. I'm like, hey, send them a little note and say, hey, I saw this in the store. Figured you'd dig it. And what does that do for that person? First of all, that person receives that unexpected gift. It's not their birthday. It's not an anniversary. It's not Christmas. It's not a holiday. Out of the blue, they get this random gift from you, and it's just with a little note on it. And what it does is it goes, wow, that's so thoughtful, and they know me. They know me. They it's not like some gift. You're like, we've all gotten gifts. You're like, what am I going to do with this thing? I don't even know what, this is so weird. But then you get a gift that's like close to your heart. And I'm not saying we go out and buy friends that we're trying to, bribe people into doing business with us. But it could be, let's take Grateful Dead as an example again. You could see an article about the Grateful Dead and then send it to that person. It could be the Grateful Dead just opened up a new tour. I wonder if my buddy Todd knows that this tour is going on. Hey Todd, I just saw this thing. Check it out. Here's a link. This Grateful Dead Dead and Company is doing this this tour, and figured that it takes you seconds to do it, but it immediately dramatically strengthens the relationship by you showing that you really know the depth of a person. And it could be done through conversation. The discovery of someone's passion, their interest can be discovered through communication, through conversation. It can also be pretty easily discovered through Facebook and other social media because we kind of show our lives in images. So you could, if you followed me, for example, for a very short period of time on Facebook, you'd quickly find out that I absolutely love to camp and fish and do things like that. So if you knew I love to camp and fish, and you could just look at pictures and know that I love the outdoors, then now you already kind of know my passion. So if you see something that you think think about this. We've all done this. You go to a store, you see something, and immediately says, "Oh, that's Todd," or "Oh, that's Susie," or "That's Bob." "Oh, that's totally Bob," right? And what if you took the time to like either buy it or copy and paste it and send it to that person? It's just something very thoughtful that I can tell you right now, this will be the Grand Canyon separator between you and everybody else that you might compete with in the marketplace. When you know somebody's passion, and then you can spoon feed it to them because it's their favorite thing, or they're one of the things in their life that brings them their greatest joy. And when you're that kind of person, it's impossible not to grow your business, because what you've done is you've strengthened that relationship capital and you've built it so big that if you were to come and say, "Hey, look, John, I want to show you this business," they're going to be like, "Absolutely, I'll take a look at it." They're going to be way more receptive to the message, again, because of how they perceive you, and they're perceiving you as an individual that actually cares. Okay, so there's a lot more that I can get into, but we have limited time with me today. So I want you to think about these things and start to incorporate them and just make them part of who you are. It's going to help you draw people towards you, and you're gonna feel like business and building a business in network marketing seems it happens. I'll just say with less effort, more results with less effort because of how people perceive you in the marketplace. Now let's go to part 2 of this training, and I mentioned this at the very beginning when I was on this radio show where I said the 2 reasons why I've not had a financial implosion in 30 plus years. Number 1, never does a day pass without me doing some type of revenue producing activity. And number 2, this concept of building relationship capital, which we've already covered. So let's talk about the production side of the business, right? When I say never does a day pass without me doing some type of revenue producing activity, that's huge. I want to do a few things with you in this subject matter. Number 1, I'm going to give you another. I don't know if we want to call it an exercise, but we'll call it a law. Okay. What's interesting in network marketing is there's no rules. I mean, we have our rules, our policies and procedures that we need to abide by. The funny thing is most network marketers have probably never taken the time to read their policies and procedures. Like, all of you are independent representatives, distributors with whatever company you represent, and you have a contractual agreement as an independent distributor in ways that you're supposed to act in order to maintain, valid status as an independent representative of your company. So I would suggest that you do know what your policies and procedures say. So that's like, those are the rules most people don't even read. And then, as an entrepreneur, you can get up in the morning and take a nap all day, or you can get up and get after it all day. And nobody's, your sponsor's not going to make you do it. Your teammate, this is a self-employed personal accountability business. And so with that, sometimes people need to learn to be accountable, learn to be, responsible for their own efforts in their business, because, our whole lives we're held accountable by other people, parents, bosses, teachers, and then all of a sudden we're at home working our business, and there's nobody to tell us what to do or when to show up or how hard to work or what we're supposed to get done by the end of the day and so on. So here's a rule that I think would be a beautiful thing. And I think if more network marketers adopted this rule, this law, then we would see a lot more successes in our space. Because here's the thing, who makes money in network marketing? Is it a certain percentage of people? Is it a locked percentage? Is it people that have a particular background or education? Is it a particular personality type? No, we have a variety of different people that have won big time in network marketing with all sorts of different backgrounds and life's experiences. So who does it work for? Network marketing works for those who work network marketing, right? That pure and simple. If you work the business and you do the right kinds of work in the business, then you'll win in the business. Period, end of story, without exception. And so the work, and we know, I think probably everybody here knows what the work is, whether you're doing the work or you're doing other things that don't really matter as much, which a lot of people do. We don't know, right? So Okay, how do we make money in network marketing? Well, we put people on our products and we put people into our business, right? That's what we do. We go out and recruit distributors and we put customers on our products. That's the main pathway to making money in network marketing. And how do we do that? We do that by talking to people, by exposing people, by inviting people, by putting our prospects in front of a presentation. That's what we do, prospecting and recruiting, right? So, but of course, people can get lost in doing all sorts of things that really don't matter, and ultimately finish the day. And I think a great question to ask yourself at the end of the day, by the way, is this is a powerful question to ask yourself at the end of the day. Finish your day, your work day is done, and you just ask yourself, what did I produce today? That's one way of asking it. What did I produce today? Because sometimes we're super busy and we didn't really do anything to produce any revenue. Or another way of phrasing it would be, would I hire me? Based on how I showed up today, would I hire me? And honestly, you should be able to, a majority of the time say, if you ask yourself, oh, I just finished my Monday, it's 7 o'clock, I'm done. And you're like, would I hire me? And you're like, oh, I crushed it today. Absolutely, I hired me. I was very productive today. Versus would I hire me? I'm like, no, I laid on the couch, I ran errands, I did everything but the thing that I needed to do in order to make money. No, I'd fire me. So I think it's a powerful question to ask yourself, but here's the law. What I want you to do is I want you to pick a number that you can live up to every single day without fail in terms of daily intentional business building reach out. So first of all, what's a daily intentional business building reach out? That means that you reached out to an individual and you executed an invite, I called up John. I said, John, listen, I've been thinking about you. I launched this business 2 years ago. I haven't even had an opportunity to get to you yet about what I'm doing, but listen, we're having a blast with this business. I would love for you to take a peek at what I'm doing. If I sent you a video, when in the next 24 hours could you take a peek at it and give me your feedback? That's an intentional business building reach out. Or it could be text, or it could be a Facebook message, or however you do it. But this is not a Facebook curiosity post and then I'm waiting around for somebody to come join my business. That's not what I'm talking about. So we don't count, for example, and there's many things that we can do, but we don't count a curiosity post on Facebook as an intentional business building reach out. So what I want you to do is, the hours that you have available for you to build your business. It might be 2 hours a day, an hour a day, 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 1 day a week, different for everybody. Look at your schedule, the time that you have allotted to build your business, and then say, okay, based on the amount of time, I know for a fact that if I make this law, that I know I can do 3 a day or 5 a day or whatever a day without fail. And every time I do this exercise, I always have really big thinkers and they're like, 25, Todd, I'm going to do 25 intentional reach outs a day. Well, the reality is, no, you're not going to be able to do that every single day without fail. So this is not a goal, okay? It's not a goal that you're striving to achieve and hoping that you'll get there within a particular time frame. This is an unbreakable law in your life. Like, I don't go to bed. Like, let's say the number's 5. I'm going to do, every time I show up in my business, I don't ever finish my day until I've done at least 5 reach outs, okay? So let's say it's 4:30 in the afternoon and quitting time for you is 5, even though I don't think there's quitting time in network marketing, but let's just say in this example, 5 o'clock, you're done for the day. It's 4:30 in the afternoon and you've got 3 reach outs. Are you done? No, you're not done because your number is 5. You cannot finish your day. Your day is never complete until you get 2 more. And that's the minimum. So the other part of this that's so valuable is when you make that law, like there's certain laws that we don't break, right? I used this example at the beginning, like probably 2 years ago, and I was with this group and I just said, how many of you would jump in your car right now and go to the grocery store naked? And nobody raised their hands. Like, well, why wouldn't, you might be, what if you're really proud of your body and it's a beautiful sunny day and you don't mind being naked and vitamin D, the sun on your body, and you're totally proud of your physique? Are you going to do it? No, I would never do it. Well, why wouldn't you do it? Because it's against the law. Like, for example, in the U.S., it's called indecent exposure. It's probably called the same thing in other parts of the world. You just can't leave your house naked. There's laws against that. And so because that law exists, people don't break the law. Any sane person would not do that. I know there's probably some crazy people that'll run around naked, but most sane individuals would never do it because the consequences of you doing so is going to be jail time. And so I use that example because I think it's funny, but it also cuts through the clutter, right? So what if you gave yourself a law in your life where you treated it, it was like an unbreakable law. Like my day is never done until I've done a minimum of 5 intentional business building reach outs. Look at your last 90 days. Can you say that you've honestly done 5 intentional business building reach outs every single day that you've showed up in your business for the last 90 days? Most people are going to say no, no. There've been many days that I didn't do even one, or I've done weeks without doing any. But on the other hand, what if you made that rule? And so from this point forward, next 365 days, minimum number is you're reaching out to 5 people a day. 5 people a day, 5 days a week, that's 25. I mean, think about the number of exposures. Even if you're not that good, the sheer number of exposures that you would have in your business would create business for you. I mean, I'm not saying we don't get good. We want to work on skill development. But the important thing is if you're doing the right activity, you're out there every single day exposing, even if you're not that great skill-wise, somebody's going to see your presentation and go, holy smokes, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I got to do this. But if we never flip any rocks over, if we never expose anybody, we're never going to build a business. And I just think there's not enough rules that people put in place for themselves in this business. In fact, most people have no rules. But I think this would be a very important law for you, and you make it law and you don't break the law. And I can guarantee you a year from now, your business will be in a completely different place, and it'll be in a completely better place because you were focused on the right activities over an extended period of time on a daily or consistent basis. So let's talk about how you get good, right? So the big question when we began this training is, okay, how did you do it, right? That's a question you should be asking successful people is how did you do it? I did it by focusing on revenue producing activities each and every day, by making laws in my life, by being a relationship builder. And then also I was like, okay, when I started in network marketing, I wasn't good. I started in network marketing at the age of 22 with no experience, no business experience, zero. I didn't even know what network marketing was prior to that day of being introduced to it. And I saw the model made sense to me. I thought, wow, this is pretty brilliant. You know, we got this product, we can share it with other people, we can make a retail profit, I can build a team, I don't have to have a boss, I can earn a percentage on everything that the team does, there's no limits to the size of the team, I'm in. I'm like, hey, sign me up. And I began that journey. And I began that journey as a bumbling wreck. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I wanted to understand how to do the business. And I wanted to be good at the business. I didn't want to do the business and fail. And so I went through a journey of improvement. And if you, I want you to think about something that you're really good at. We're all good at something. And some people are good at many things. But think about one thing in your life that you are really, really good at. Okay? For me, the first thing that comes to mind is skiing. I've been a snow skier since I've been skiing for over 40 years, right? That's a long time to be on skis. And whatever it is for you, I want you to think about that right now. How did you get good at it? That's the second part of the question. How you get good at one thing is how you get good at everything. And what's fascinating to me when I speak around the world is people are like, hey, I want to make money in network marketing. I want to be successful. I'm like, great. So what are you doing to get good? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, you say you want to get good. Tell me what you're doing to get good. Well, I'm doing the business. Okay, cool. That's part of it. That's part of getting good. It's like, I've got 2 kids, and my youngest kid, with both skiing and fishing, I remember the first experiences. I'm taking him fishing, and he's trying to cast this fishing rod, and he's getting upset, and he starts crying. He's like, Dad, I'm not good at it. And he's like getting upset because like this is the very first time this kid had a fishing rod in his hands. And I'm like, buddy, you've never done it before. How can you expect to be good at something you've never done before? And so he's got me as a mentor. That's another thing I'm very good at. I've been fishing my whole life. And so he's got somebody to teach him and to work with him and show him how to do it. And so now he's actually a very, very good fisherman. But it didn't happen overnight. and it's something that needs to be worked on, just like your skill sets in this business. Like, I would say one of the most valuable skill sets to have in this business is prospecting and recruiting. There are other skills, of course, but that's certainly a primary skill that's going to lead to other things that you're going to need to know how to do. Like, how do I lead a team? What do I do from a team building standpoint and driving this team to greater growth and development? But you'll never have that problem unless you can first recruit a distributor or bring customers into your business. You'll never have this other, this other set of challenges to, what it's like to lead a team unless you can start to develop a team. And that begins with you being able to recruit people. And that's the one activity probably that matters more than anything else, is your ability to recruit. So I wanted to be a good recruiter. And so what did I do? And this is what you will do. If you want to be good at recruiting, and I think you should want to be good at recruiting as well, you need to be out recruiting. Even if you're not good, you can learn from those experiences. So if you just do the activity, you can learn from experience. That's not the beginning and the end. It is for a lot of people. They'll just do the activity, but they never really work on getting good. They expect to get good, but they're not working on getting good. So part of it is doing it. So if you're out there making calls and, well, that one didn't do good, let me change what I said the next time. Maybe, the consistent, the repetitiousness of the activity is going to help you improve to some extent. It's not the beginning of the end, because you could be doing the same thing over and over again wrong, but you're doing the activity, but you're doing it wrong. What's one of the definitions of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But if you're smart, you're doing something, and if it's not working, you're like, okay, well, that's not working, so I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to do that a little bit differently. Oh, well, that's interesting. I got a better result. Let me stick to that. Like, one of the definitions, for example, that I use for success is, and there's many different definitions of success, but one way of putting it, success is repeating what works and deleting what doesn't. Repeat what works, delete what doesn't. So if you do something, you're like, wow, that worked pretty good, I'm going to do that again. If you do something, you're like, well, that didn't work out very well. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. And I'm going to replace it with something else. So this is our way of learning and kind of figuring out on our own. So through experience. So experiential learning is one thing. Think about it this. Most of you at some point in your life played some sport growing up. Whatever it is, soccer, tennis, football, wrestling, gymnastics, swimming, whatever it is. Most kids played some sport growing up. And regardless of what the sport was, you always had practice before the game or the set or the match or whatever you were playing, right? You weren't on a soccer team and you just showed up on Saturday to play the game without having practiced. Well, why would you practice? Well, practice is what prepares you for the game. That's what gets you in tune with what's going to happen in the real game that you're about to play. And in network marketing, which totally boggles my mind, is there's all these people that say that they want to get good. I'm like, well, how much are you practicing? And they're like, huh? I'm like, do you practice at all? And they're like, what? Practice what? I'm like, how about practice prospecting? How about role playing with a friend or a partner? Or how about role playing with a teammate? Practice. Hey, let's do a role play. I'm gonna call you and be the person that's super negative. Hey, John, what do you want? This is Todd. I'm your friend. No, you're not. Well, hey, listen, I was calling you about this business. I don't want to hear about business. Leave me the hell, Okay, well, how do I make it through that call versus, hey, can you be the nice person this time? Sure. Hey, is John in? Yeah, this is John. John, Todd. Hey, Todd, what's going on? Hey, listen, I've got this business. You got a business? I'm like, I do. I just launched this new business. Oh my gosh, I got to hear about it. What is it? Please tell me it's network marketing. I've been looking for a network marketing company. Obviously, those are the polar opposites. But what if you practiced before you played? It's like every time I go on stage, I'm practicing before I go on stage. Even if I did the same slide deck the week before, I'm still practicing before I do it, because when I do it, I want to do as good of a job as I possibly can. So there's definitely a pathway for all of you to improve, but you have to want to improve. And I think, it's like sharpening the saw, right? And Stephen Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about this concept of, let's take it to the kitchen. How many of us have ever been in a kitchen and there's a tomato and we're trying to cut a tomato with a dull knife? And it's like, this isn't a butter knife. This is like supposed to be it's just a knife to cut through stuff like this. And you're going like this and you can't even cut through the skin of the tomato. But if you just took a moment and sharpened the knife edge, all of a sudden it becomes super easy. You need to sharpen your knife's edge. because it's now making you more efficient. So yeah, some people are better recruiting than others. Well, what makes them better? Well, if two people are reaching out to the same amount of people each and every month, and one person's recruiting 10 and the other person's recruiting 0, what's probably the difference? Let's say they're equal personalities, equal everything except skills. Well, the one with more skills is going to get better results. So work on your skills, work on your craft. You can learn by doing, you can learn by practicing, you can learn by having somebody observe you, or what if you had an expert? Like I've had golf coaches and other coaches in my life. What if you had someone observing you while you were doing it? And you had, let's say you had me, for example, and I'm sitting next to you and, watching you and listening to you do some prospecting calls or social media stuff, and I'm able to say, hey, ask him this question, or next time do it this way. I can give you little tweaks because I have a higher level of expertise and experience in that thing that we're talking about, network marketing prospecting, and I'm going to be able to make minor adjustments so that you begin to do things differently in the future. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can do this in order to improve, right? Practice, doing, having somebody else observe you. I'm also a very, very big fan of recording some of your calls or presentations, and because when you do so, it's hard to figure out what you're doing while you're doing it. But if you do something, let's say I made 20 phone calls, and I went back and I listened to the 20 phone calls myself, I'm going to be like, wow, that didn't sound very good. I'm going to make a note. Next time I'm going to do it this way. You'll be able to pick up on some of those things. You may not be able to pick up on the same things that I would pick up that you were doing because I've got 30 plus years of experience doing this, but you would be able to pick up on some things that now that I've had a chance to listen to myself, I'm going to do it differently in the future. Like for example, when I speak on a platform anywhere in the world, I get a copy of the presentation, and then I can watch myself, and I go, okay, that was good. Oh, wait a minute, I made that point, but then I reiterated. Okay, I'm gonna tell that story a little bit differently because it didn't seem to vibe with the audience so much. So I'm going to adjust that so I can do it differently in the future. So we can make those adjustments, but you can't really make those adjustments unless you record yourself. So that's another thing. And I've given this exercise to so many people where, hey, take the time to record some of your calls, some of your presentations. Doesn't have to be all of them, but some of them. And that's going to be a valuable resource in helping you to improve. So observation's another thing. Somebody who's really good at recruiting or really great at presenting or whatever that thing is that you want to get good at, and you watch them, you observe them, you're like, wow, they're doing it differently than I'm gonna emulate that. That's how I started to get good at prospecting in the very early stages of my career. There was a guy in my office who was 27, I was 22 at the time, and he was making, I was making nothing, he was making something. 100% more than I was at the time. And so I literally watched him, and I was like, okay, well, that's how he talks, and these are the things he says, or these are the way he asks questions. And so I started to literally copycat him, and I did start to see results. So that was the beginning of my early stages of improvement, was learning through observation. I wasn't just watching, I was watching and then applying. It's one thing, like the phrase knowledge is power. We've all heard that before. I think, and that was Sir Francis Bacon in the 1800s coined that phrase. I don't think knowledge is power. He's not here to argue with me, but if he was here, I'd say, no, Sir Francis Bacon, no, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is powerless until it's put to use. That's when knowledge is powerful, when it's put to use. So if you acquire some knowledge from somebody, then you put it to work. Like, I don't read a book or watch a video or view something or listen to something that's designed to grow a skill or give me greater understanding without taking something from that and immediately applying it into my business to see that it works. And there's a phrase I've used on stages all around the world: soak and apply. Soak in the information, but most importantly, apply the things that you've learned. Even in today's presentation, I've gone through a number of things that I know will have a dramatic impact on you getting better results in network marketing, but nothing will happen unless you take what I've said and then go apply it into your business, whether it's the draw a line through the middle of the page exercise, and the people in businesses I love and people in businesses maybe I don't love, and like deciding to be more like that left column, or practicing your prospecting, or being that relationship capital builder, or keeping notes on people. You can either take what I've given you today and do nothing with it, and you have the knowledge. It's like, yeah, I got some knowledge from this guy, Todd, but I didn't do anything with it. Or you can take all this knowledge and you go, I'm going to apply this stuff into my own business and see how it works for me, because that's how you win. And if you want to win, and I can't imagine that you would still be here with me today and at this entire training if you didn't want to win. And that's a great quality. You have that inquisitive, curious nature about you, which is one of the most important things to have in network marketing or entrepreneurship in general. Is I'm curious, I want to know, and if you don't know, you ask. If you don't understand, you look for clarity. If there's something you don't know what it is or how to do it, you ask and you get the answers, and then you can then apply those things into your business. So I hope you've had value out of today. I certainly have enjoyed being with you, and again, soak in the information, but most importantly, apply it into your business. Stay consistent, and you will see success as a long-term entrepreneur in network marketing. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.